Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis. Although most of the cars I source are between £1,000 and £5,000, very often I've been asked to show something a little bit cheaper on the channel, and so I came up with No Budget Reviews, the series where we look at cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and you can enjoy driving. We don't film this in an expensive manner, we don't use separate microphones, we don't use dual head tripods, we don't even use a DSLR, but we do have a lot of fun. I can't tell you viewers how long it's taken me to get a Mark 1 Focus on the channel. Surprisingly, I've not really been offered too many of them. I've actually been offered two by the owner of this car, whose name is Carl. We've been trying to sort some filming out for about 18 months, but finally we've managed to do it. Not the area country where he's from, but down here in Weymouth. You see we're right next to the sea here. This is a 2004 Focus 1.6 Zetec Automatic, and for many years they were the bread and butter of Mr. Coleman, rubbish mechanic. He used to buy and sell absolutely loads of these when he was operating as like a sort of sole trader outside of work hours. He used to be able to change a clutch or a camber on these, I think, in 2 to 3 hours. Carl, who owns his cars in the background, just waving there, because obviously we're down in Weymouth, so he must be on holiday, and holidays are nice things to yes, holidays are nice things, and it's nice to say that this car drove all the way down from the northwest the other day with no problems whatsoever. We're firmly within no budget reviews territory as well, because this car, well, it cost a bit less than £1,000, shall we say. Although I don't know how much longer that's going to happen, because these cars are getting quite rare. This is a facelift one, it's quite a late one, it's a 54 plate, so late 2004. Just flip the key to see how many miles we've done. There we go. 85,000 miles. That's not actually that many for a car at this age. One thing I've remembered about this car when I got into it, just how comfortable the seats are. Ford spent millions and millions of pounds developing this car, and by this time you would have seen a review of a car that was not too long before this was made, a Ford Escort Mark 5B, which was only gosh, 93, so about 5 years before this car was launched in its original guise. But so different. I mean, a nice hard wearing dashboard, and everything is just much better quality in here. I do like the Escort Mark 5B. I think that's actually quite a good car for its time. There are others I prefer, but I think it's still pretty good. But this, with its kind of unique looking radio, these interestingly shaped buttons, just the whole new age design philosophy in this, I think is genuinely very interesting. One weird thing about this car, I think maybe in other models there was something up here in the middle of the dash, but I don't know what that was or what it would be. This being a Zetec rather than a Zetec Climate means we've just not even got any aircon in this car. That was on the Climate model, and we don't have any electric mirrors, so we don't get that classic Ford electric mirror switch which was in everything. We don't have the famous front heated screen, which is a Ford exclusive thing until about 2011, I believe. This is I believe a 4-speed automatic gearbox, just a torque converter. It's not a CVT or anything. Let's have a look and see if my secret mission documents will go into the glove box. No! Oh, viewers, that is really annoying. I was looking forward to that. Oh well, let's have a look at these door locking buttons. Yeah, they kind of are a bit like the older Ford ones, from like the sort of Mark 4 Escorts. They sort of lock just here. Just 2 electric windows in this one. I mean, you needed a sort of gear or something to get 4. and lots of cup holders as well. Centre console's not here. I think that was available on the higher spec models. Nice normal handbrake, and lots of space for tree bore soft mints. I do like tree bore soft mints, viewers. And remote steering wheel controls here. You could actually get cruise control on certain models. I think it was an option on the gears, and that would have been on the steering wheel too. Right, let's look in the back. So, you know, we'll pop the boot just because I feel like we'll pop the boot using that control there because it's there. Go and take a look, see how much space there is. Wow. Oh, there's plenty of space in here. There's absolutely loads. That's really good. Let's see if we've got a spare wheel under here. Yes, we have. Fabulous. It's a very practical shape, this. There's a little boot light there, and that's still working. Fantastic. The only thing I would say is there's no little hooks to put anything on. Boot's about 300 litres, 320, something like that. Even this rear end has actually, I think, aged quite well as a design. If you look at the Astra G, which was launched the same year as this, and the Mark IV Golf, that was launched a little bit before this, I don't think the design has aged at all as well as this has. I think this was very much a cutting edge thing. They kept the Escort in production for 2 years after the Focus was launched, just because they thought the design was maybe a bit too sort of radical and people wouldn't like it. But it quickly rose up to become, I think, the second best-selling car in Britain. So they needn't have worried, really. To see how much room you've got in here. That's not bad, actually. Yeah, there's loads of headroom. In the estate, it'll be even more. I don't know if the saloon had a little bit more, possibly legroom than this. Sometimes the saloons do. I do like a nice saloon with a beige leather interior, possibly a gear. You know my preferences, viewers, but this is okay. There's no centre armrest or anything, but we've got 3 headrests in here. Yeah, it's just a good shape. It's just been designed by somebody who really knows what they're doing, and who just really decided to start with a clean sheet of paper and just make whatever they needed to make. It's very good.
Difficult to do one-handed though.
Okay, viewers, as Carl has just said, it's difficult to open this with just one hand. We'll see if we can do it. I don't know if it's possible. No, we're going to pause. Interesting, that is exactly the same coolant reservoir as a Mark II, and of course you've probably seen the Mark II Focus I did quite recently on my channel already, and this engine is, well, it's pretty much exactly the same. This is a 1.6 Zetec SE or Sigma or Duratec engine. They use different names for them, generating 99 horsepower. One of the main things you need to do when looking at one of these Mark I Focuses, or Foci if I'm using my A-level Latin, is the cam belt. The cam belt needs to be done. I think it's every 6 years on these, or about sort of 80,000 miles, something like that. Maybe you can get away with a little bit more than that, but I think Mr. Coleman used to recommend something like 6 years on them. Other than that, they're actually really reliable engines. They're very, very reliable. It's much more reliable than something like the old EcoBoom engine. Much rather have one of these than an EcoBoom. And again, this styling at the front, being a facelifted car, the indicators are integrated into the headlamp units, and with the front fog lights on it, obviously the Zetec was the most popular trim of any Mark I Focus, and Zetec is still a trim they're using today. It just looks very good. I'm not particularly sure I would have chosen this colour, just because black tends to show marks and things a bit, but yes, it's looking pretty good. Right, viewers, let's come and examine another one of the Mark I Focus's strong points and take it out for a drive. Right, viewers, this is where the Focus comes into its own. It's quite amazing, really. The ride is really, really good. A common problem on these is the drop links, and it's a common issue as well on Mark 6, Mark 7 Fiestas. And that's what we could hear when we're going along. But the ride is really very, very composed. Imagine if you were driving the ST170 or something like that, it wouldn't be quite as smooth as this. But this is really good. There were a lot of engines available for a Mark 1 Focus. The base one was a 1.4 engine with 75 horsepower. That probably is best avoided. I don't think it'd be quite enough for something like this. Then there's a 1.6, which is widely regarded as one of the best engines that Ford ever made. 99 horsepower, like this one. Then there was a 1.8 version of this engine, developed 113 horsepower. And then a 2 litre, which developed 127 horsepower. The ST170 developed almost exactly that. It developed 167 horsepower from memory. And then there was the Focus RS, which is almost at the end of production for the Mark 1. From memory, that generated around 230 horsepower. Could be wrong actually about that. There, of course, were also some diesels, but as usual, due to government legislation and all sorts of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. For a car that was launched in 1998, I'm amazed just how smooth and easy to drive this is. I mean, I know it's an automatic, but I have driven a manual Mark 1 Focus, and the gearbox was absolutely lovely. I think it's got a Ford IB5 unit in those. And just knowing that Carl paid well under £1,000 for this car, and drop links aside, how well it goes is amazing. I hear the clutches on the manual versions aren't the strongest, and sometimes they need to be changed at less than 60,000 miles. It depends how you drive, of course. I mean, if you are gentle with them, they'll maybe last a bit longer. But maybe if a clutch isn't feeling too good, so if you're on the car that you're looking at, just budget in for a new clutch and get someone who knows what they're doing to fit it, because there'll be plenty of people out there who would have worked on Mark 1 Focuses because they were amongst the most popular cars in Britain. And going along in this one, which is remarkably well preserved, I can understand that. I mean, I prefer the look of the saloons myself. I like dark green or dark blue, and of course a beige leather interior. But obviously you've never heard about that before, viewers, have you? Never. The steering, a hydraulic setup in these cars, feels really good, even at very sort of modest speeds. It feels really, really nice. And again, that's something that they really went after when they were developing this car. They wanted to have excellent ride and handling, and the control blade rear suspension that's in this car, it's just like a multi-link unit, but I don't want to call it just as simple as that, because I've heard it's a bit of a there, but we'll just call it that for the sake of ease. Was streets ahead of most of what the competition uses, sort of torsion beams and things like that were quite common then and are quite common now. I mean, my Samuel Tivoli has torsion beam rear suspension, for example. I'm actually amazed as well at the level of refinement in this car. It's really, really quite refined for a modestly priced family hatchback from 20 years ago. I think I prefer this to a Mark 4 Golf, to be honest. I mean, Mark 4 Golfs aren't too bad, but I prefer this. So we've gone for a bit of a longer drive than usual in this, because I just wanted to see how it felt on the slightly faster roads. We haven't found photos that are too fast, but we have found some very nice scenery as we're heading back down to Weymouth. And The only real problem is these drop links that have been incorrectly fitted that are making the noise. Apart from that, just crash over bumps. Steering's nicely composed. There's not much road noise. There's not much wind noise. Carl said to me earlier he'd owned a lot of these cars. I think it's 5 that he's owned, and I completely understand why. While they're still available in decent condition for modest money, and while there is still lots of people around who are able to fix them and lots of parts that are cheaply available, this is probably the definition of no budget reviews. They used to use a term back in the day of sort of Bangonomics, and sometimes people have successes with those, sometimes they have failures. But this seems to be a bit of a success. I think before I start sort of waffling on about the philosophy of Bangonomics and things like that, we'd better stop here, and then we'll go back and look at some full focus Part 1 trim levels. As promised viewers, let's look at some Mark 1 Focus trim levels. So the standard ones are the CL, which is the base. It's a very rare trim actually, you don't see too many of these in this country. The LX, the Gear, Studio, Zetec, the ST170 and the RS. Those are the sort of normal trim levels available, but then there were a lot of special editions. Things like the Black, the Chic, the Ebony, the Edge, the Flight. That's a trim level used on lots of Fiestas and Escorts as well actually. The L is in the magazine. The Ink, the Millennium Edition, which was I think 2000 made. Those had alloy wheels, a leather interior. I think they were like a shade of gold from what I recall. A friend of mine used to have one of those. An MP3, the Silver. I wonder if the black and silver were only made in black and silver, or if you could buy like a red silver edition. Anyway, the Zetec VSP. I'm not sure this has ESP actually. Maybe it's an option in the Zetec collection. ABS and traction control were actually just options on quite a lot of the Mark 1 Focus trim levels. So if that's specifically something you're looking for, just make sure that you pick one that is, I suppose. In conclusion then, what can we say about Mark 1 Focus? Is this still a car that you should buy with your hard-earned budget up to £1,000? Well, whilst examples sort of like this, you know, well used but still very, very sort of mechanically sound ones are available, then absolutely, you know, the parts are readily available. The car is actually very well designed, and the way it drives is really unlike much else from this era. I'm really quite surprised actually how well this drives for the amount of money that Carl paid for this car. Obviously there are some things to look out for that we've mentioned in the review, but you know, a lot of you will probably know these anyway. I'm sure many of you own these cars before. But anyway, thank you very much indeed to Carl for supplying this car. It was good that actually after 18 months we finally got something together. Thank you very much indeed for watching this episode of No Budget Reviews. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, to like this video and to leave a comment below. Social media links are down below. And see you next time for more No Budget fun.